In this episode, we take a 1949 GMC 5 miles down the road, and now we need to tow home.
Are you surprised?
No, not slightly.
Oh, that sounds healthy.
This is my 1949 GMC 3/4 ton pickup truck, or 3600, depending on how you want to call it. I've had this truck for about 4 years. It's been sitting on my yard, sort of collecting weeds. The last time this thing was registered was in 1980, if you can believe that. We're gonna attempt to pull it out from its graveyard here and fix her up and take her on a fishing trip. You know, it seems like a stupid idea, but that's just because we're stupid people. 400 kilometers is a long distance for a truck this old, let alone a truck that hasn't ran in 20 years. If we don't have a single problem, it'll be a miracle. What do you figure? Figure we put a battery on her and try to see what happens and see where we have to go from there? All right, ready?
Yeah, you're right.
I don't think that starter's very happy.
No.
Alright, let's give this a shot and see what happens.
Good.
I don't know if it's the starting motor or the motor itself.
I'll find out pretty fast.
It's the starter.
Yeah.
Because I had no problem with that. I'm thinking the starter is not happy. Getting 12 volts?
Good, nothing.
Getting nothing, so why the heck did we all of a sudden get 12 volts there? Okay, we got 12 volts to that.
Okay, so
Okay,
now...
we're good. We're good there. Alright, let's turn off the ignition before we kill ourselves.
Okay, good. I'll continue holding this. Well, our center post from the coil is all corroded on the inside there, so it's not actually making good contact.
Yeah, it looks like our distributor post looks like it's got a bunch of water in there and it's been corroded. See if we can't clean that out. So I think everything else is good because our points are fine. Our points and our points contact are fine, right? I think we've got some, they're all good. The rest of the distributor is pretty good. So let's clean out that center contact and see if we can't make that a little bit better. So I sort of figured out that we have a cable going from the coil to the distributor that's all messed up, doesn't work. We're gonna try to fabric cobble something up using one end of a spark plug wire and the other end of a spark plug wire. We got this little hair of a 90-degree turn. Now the question being, I don't know about you, but we have two choices. We can either cut it very gently and surgically take the cap off, or just beat the shit out of it with a hammer.
I think we should beat the shit out of it with a hammer.
Yeah, works for me.
Because obviously when all else fails, beat the shit out of it with a hammer.
Yeah. Whew! Sure make this insulation tight. I feel like this is gonna end badly. Whew!
Yeah, that's exactly what you want.
That's exactly what we wanted.
So that would have taken 20 times as long cutting it precisely, and it wouldn't have looked as good.
Pretty much.
No.
No, we f***ed it up. But not really, actually.
No.
This is a stupid idea. Why did we do this?
Because we can, and it's free.
But it's attached, so. Okay, well, let's give this a solid effort. See if we can get this thing going. A little bit of gas, the system's all primed up.
We finally sort of fixed the ignition system, but we had absolutely no idea if it would work. Theoretically, it should, but really, it's a complete crapshoot.
Yes! Yes! And now, yes!
At this point, I had other commitments, so I left Mike alone to work on the truck for a few days. This would be a really good time to do actual motor work, but it looks like Mike found something shiny.
When fixing a vehicle that you have absolutely no idea what's gone on with it and how long it's ran, obviously the most important thing to do is to polish the nice chrome valve cover. because that just makes the truck, that makes it not an old piece of junk. That makes it beautiful. Man, this is the nicest part in the whole darn truck. I'll make sure it stands out. So we just popped off the filter, we just drained out the oil. Oil didn't look like it had any big chunks or big particles in it, which is good. But we did spin off the filter. We had this engine running for a few minutes, and we got here goop. It looks like it's just goop that's been forced into the oil filter. You see, it looks like there's quite a bit of condensation. So my best guess is open this stuff up. It's not a metallic sort of goop. It's just like a sludge. We know what we're gonna do is we're going to replace the filter, put in new oil, we're gonna run it. Once it's done running, we're gonna spin off that new filter quickly to see if it's plugged up with goop again. If it's plugged up with goop again, we're gonna spin on a new filter and just keep running it until it comes out clean. And if we need to, we'll do an oil change again. So we've had this truck started, we've had it idling more or less well. You know, it idles pretty good, but it doesn't rev up. You hit the gas and the thing will start sputtering and dying after about 5 to 10 seconds. And you know, it's clearly a fuel starvation issue. So we pulled off this inline fuel filter that had been sitting in the system, sort of questionable. So we bypassed that to see if it worked. That didn't change anything. And you know, one thing that was mentioned to me is these old carbs that they have in the bottom of the float is they have a little paper filter that is just sort of, you know, a fuel filter, a little paper filter built into the bottom. So we cracked that open, took a look at it. That thing was so plugged, it actually accordioned, and you can see that actually collapsed in on itself. These guys are supposed to be straight up like that. So it collapsed in on itself, and because these guys are sealed from the length of it, so you actually need the length of these filters to seal it, it's been bypassing gum into it. So likely we took this clean out to see if it works, and it's better, but it's not great. It still bogs. So likely what's happened is we've got a piece of particle right in the fuel needle of this carburetor, so you're gonna have to pull it off and you're gonna have to clean it up. So that's just the way she goes. This guy here is a Rochester monojet. What do I know about this carburetor? Nothing. I just know it's a Rochester monojet. So it says right there, Rochester monojet. Cool. Made in the United States of America. So we started this guy up. You know, ran about as well as what you'd expect from sitting for how many years, who knows. But, you know, we filled up the master cylinder with brake fluid, and it seems like she sprung a leak in both front wheel cylinders. So we're gonna take it apart and we'll see what kind of problems we've got ahead of us. Safety squints, we're gonna fire up this bastard here. Get rid of all the flammable stuff first. Give the old quenching. Sometimes things don't quite work out the way you want them to. Obviously, only the classiest for redneck ingenuity. So we pulled off a wheel cylinder off of that GMC, and to be expected, it's very heavily corroded. It looks like it's been full of water. It's sort of what we'd expect on a vehicle that was sitting this long. We're gonna run a brake hone, brake cylinder hone through it, see how bad the pitting is, and if the pitting's not too bad, we'll order a rebuild kit, which, let's face it, probably gonna end up order a rebuild kit. Likely, this is 1.25 inch diameter wheel cylinder. Likely, we're gonna be able to find this kit just about anywhere because wheel cylinders are pretty common. Doesn't look too bad. It looks like we might be able to reuse these guys. Bit of corrosion, but heck, doesn't look all too bad. So everything's been going well with the truck. You know, we got the thing started, which was sort of miraculous considering it probably hasn't been started in 20 some odd years. It runs pretty darn good. And you know, we have a list of things we gotta get done. Most of it pretty basic, stuff that we expected anyway, like all the wheel cylinders completely seized solid. That was to be expected. You know, this thing hasn't been touched in decades. Some of the bigger ones though, we do have an issue with the fan. The fan is far too low on the radiator. Likely what happened, the guy had put this motor in, started it and ran it, figured it would be too much work to get this thing working properly. So what happened is this 250 was never meant to be put in this application, this truck. So the stock radiator, the radiator that came out of this 49 is still in there, but the fan is sitting about, I don't know, 10 inches too low. So it's almost touching the lower rad hose and the lower brace for the radiator itself. So we got a couple of options what we can do with that. I'm thinking the best one's gonna be, we're gonna go into a scrapyard. We're gonna find an electric fan that'll be approximately the right size. We'll take the solid fan out and we'll put the electric fan on a switch inside the cab, which will help us for low speed riding. But we'll see, maybe we'll just leave it like that. It'll depend on which time we have. Other things, wheels, all of them shot, no question about it. We gotta get a new set of tires and we're trying to keep this thing on the cheap. The front wheels are split rim style, so we probably gonna have to bite the bullet and get new rims for the front because I ain't dealing with a split rim. I don't think any other tire shop's gonna even touch it. So there are a few things to do, you know, basic stuff, check all the fluids, replace all the fluids that we need to replace. Coolant probably hasn't been ever touched. So yeah, you know, progress is good. We've got a couple of days left. Maybe we'll actually get to it on our fishing trip. So the truck needs tires. We're trying to keep this thing on the cheap. So what I have sitting around here is I have an old Ford truck. It's got the same 8-bolt rims on it. These tires are kind of, they're all right, I suppose, but they're better than the dry rotted split rims that are on that GMC. So we're gonna pull off a tire here. We're gonna see if it fits on that green truck, and we're gonna go from there. That seems to be the winner. Well, today is tomorrow. We got a couple of small things to button up. We're gonna get our alternator wired up so we can get that charged going. We've got some tires on there. We got another tire on there. We got one tire that's a little bit not great. So we're gonna have to fix that. Our list is getting a little bit smaller. Just a couple of things to do. And this guy will be out of here.
Well, we were able to get reverse first and second, but we weren't able to get third and fourth. It would move over to the side, but it wouldn't go up and down. It wasn't moving the shifting fork. So we decided to pull the top of this off and see if we can get that freed up. But when we pulled the top of it off, all we could see was this yellow. It's just straight water, almost straight water. At the very least, we should probably add some oil. At this point, we were getting really close to finishing. After sorting out our dihydrogen monoxide transmission issue, we moved on to our non-existent fuel system, because the stock tank holds fuel about as well as a hammock. It's rusted, full of holes, and it looks like a shade tree garage warrior attempted to oxyacetylene weld it. Obviously it wasn't Mike.
We've got Plan B, which happens to be a beer keg. Yep, we're gonna take this here beer keg and make it into a fuel tank with, well, very minimal welding. What we're gonna do, we're gonna tap the bottom of the beer keg just with a 1/8 inch NPT, easy to open and close. We're gonna make it as a vent, and this will be our new fuel tank.
This was probably our greatest idea, because nothing says we have no idea what we're doing like a beer keg in the back of a truck.
So what do we got done? All right, let's see. Completely done. Wheels, done. Grease everything. I'd say that's done.
Yeah, that's done.
Will we consider the left front leaf spring fixed?
Oh, it's perfect, yeah.
Perfect, all right, perfect, good enough. Fuel hose clamps. Later?
Later.
Later. So we'll circle it for now.
Yeah.
What else do we need? Tune up carb time. We can't do it, not now, later. Coolant flush. Flush coolant change. Top it up, call it every day.
Yeah, as long as there's water in this one.
Water. Okay, done. Wire lights, that's literally the last thing I gotta do. I gotta finish wiring these lights and take her out for a test spin.
Sweet.
That sounds good to me. All right, I figure we try this light bar. Let's give it a shot.
Okay, let's see.
All right, let's see.
Moment
Ready?
truth.
Moment truth. Oh, heck yeah.
That works.
That works well.
Beautiful.
Works for me.
After many hours of moderately hard work and a couple of long nights, we're finally ready to go out fishing. Even though we are running out of time, we have no mid-throttle, terrible brakes, and questionable electrics. But who cares? We're going out anyway.
We decided that tuning the truck, probably a good idea, but we were having absolutely no luck with that old carb. You know, after putting this much time into this truck, it's really exciting to finally see it moving under its own power. But you know, we were just hoping it would make it to the end of the driveway. But that would be success enough for us. So, how do you feel about that? Do you think it's good enough?
Oh yeah, it's good. Let's take it for a 6-hour drive now.
It works for me.
The brakes work, we press them all the way down. It rolls, it runs, we're good.
as expected. The truck died. We tried starting it on the side of the road, but we had no luck. The battery was too weak to turn it over, and even when it did turn over, it just wouldn't start. Something is not quite right in the ignition system, or the carb. It's time to call Saskatchewan CAA. Buddy and Steve's towing.
At this point, fishing is completely out of the question. We were miles away from my shop, and by the time we got back and fiddled with the truck some more, there was no chance we were getting back on the road. Alex gave the truck the nickname Jimmy Jimmy, because we essentially threw it together with whatever we had lying around the shop.
This is not the last you'll see of old Jimmy. She will be back.